Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Clutadon, Country Fan Mail Podcast, Season 5, Episode 15 or 16. I really don't be remembering. So I know y'all probably be like, you do this every time, but I really don't remember. So, this episode, really special episode. As y'all know, I've been able to tap in with some amazing souls from all over the world, a lot of different countries. And one of my favorite opportunities is when I get to tap in with somebody that I feel like has grown to be, somebody that I can't even remember how we actually got in contact at first, whether I reached out to him or he reached out to me. But either way, from the very first time that he's come onto the show up until now, we've grown a deeper connection. I've come to understand him a lot more, and I've come to understand his passion, I'll say, a lot more, and it's opened my eyes to a lot of things that I really had not really have been thinking about before. And anyways, without getting long-winded, this same gentleman, like I say, he's come onto the show a few times, but now he's in a process of actually creating his own platform. And he's, saying he's creating his own platform. Shout out to Does It Make Sense? I watched the first episode. It was extremely amazing. It really, taught me so much about the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And I want to bring this cat onto the stage. As y'all saw last time I had him on, it was Words to the Diaspora, and this is going to be Words to the Diaspora Part 2. And with that being said, I got to bring on the homie who was in the original one and who is going to continue on this series on Country Fan Mail Podcast. So, like I said, without getting too long-winded, without further ado, I want to introduce a very, very special gentleman to the stage, Pan-Africanist, artist and influencer, cultural icon. I mean, he's literally doing his thing in so many different ways. Introduced to the stage, Sensical Sense, man. What's going on, bro?
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How about you, man?
Yeah, good. I don't know about Icon, man. Icon is too big.
You know,
Ah,
it's funny because I was sitting here and I was thinking about your intro, and I was just like, icon. And a lot of people don't like to use the word icon until they're big, but you're iconic, bro. I mean, you say it all the time. Like you say, people are like, "Oh man, Sensical Sense. You're so passionate. You're always talking about this. You're always talking about that. That's iconic. People see you, and
yeah,
you're an
man.
icon. You're a beacon of that type of energy, man. So I see that in you for real.
Yeah, thank you, man. I glad to be here. Part 3. Yeah, glad to be
Yeah,
here.
part 3. Yes,
Mm.
sir, man. So yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Even though it's a little bit different from my regular interviews, I have that classic question, man. What was the first song that you listened to when you woke up this morning?
Well, today I listened to some reggae. Can I even remember the first? But it was reggae. Probably Gregory Isaacs. Yeah, Gregory
Gregory Isaac.
Isaacs reggae.
Oh, okay. No, I had Freddie McGregor right here. I thought I had Gregory Isaacs behind me, but yeah, man. I guess so. Yeah, I got a lot of Gregory on the wall, man. But for sure, man. That's some good shit, man. And to give everybody a little bit of background, if y'all don't know, actually, I'm gonna shut up. Let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and what you represent.
Yeah, okay, so I go by the name Sensical Sense. That's my uh, work name, whatever. I come from Kenya, East Africa, and I'm just well. First of all, I'm a Pan-Africanist. Second of all, I'm a rap artist, and third of all, uh, I'm just a person who loves Africa, and I'm a person who loves African people. And I've been a I've been loving I've been a Pan Africanist since I was a teenager, but suddenly since I was 18, and the passion has been growing on and on and on to a point where I am now making my platform, and I've just released my first episode. Does it make sense? Episode 1 is talking about Marcus Garvey. So yeah, and this is
Congratulations,
a
man.
this is thank you. This is the start of my soon to be illustrious career of me servicing African people and servicing Pan African unity. Yeah.
No, no. So hold on. Did you say your last years?
No, no, no. This is my well, this is the beginning stages of my illustrious career. Yeah.
Got you. Oh, illustrious. Okay, okay. I thought you said last years. I was like, where are you going, man? Like, what's
Uh,
going on? Okay, okay, okay. That's why I was
I am
confused.
young. I am young. I'm fresh. Today is my birthday. I'm 23. So
Hey,
yeah,
happy birthday, man! I didn't know that, man.
yeah. Today's my birthday. I'm 23. I was born the day Garvey died, June 10th.
Yep, you were born the day Garvey died. I remember you saying that. You were talking about that in your podcast, and which is crazy because it just more so it more so exemplifies why that spirit really does lie within you. So you were talking about, and when I told you I watched literally the whole episode, you were talking about
Thank you.
how Martin Luther King Jr. was speaking different after Malcolm X died and after Marcus Garvey and how that spirit kind of transitioned amongst other people. And just that random fact about you, saying your birthday. For one, I have to say thank you for spending your birthday here with us. Saying that's a real big deal. We're definitely honored to have you on. And I mean, secondly, like, when did you know that this was so? You told me, and don't get me wrong. You said that you became a Pan Africanist pretty at a very young age, but what was that first that first like drop of Pan Africanism that was like put into your blood? When did the sharks go crazy in your mind?
Well, when I was 18, I was in my final year in high school, and there was a history book called, I've forgotten the name, Evolving. Was it? I've forgotten the name of the history book we were using. And in that history book, we came to a topic called Pan-Africanism. And in that topic, we were studying Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Marcus Garvey. Each of them had 3 pages,
Mm-hmm.
and I could at that time I didn't know Marcus Garvey that well, but the much I knew about him at that time, I couldn't believe that guy had 3 pages.
Talking about you said hold on, talking about you said all
But then I
three of them
looked.
had 3 pages, or each of them had a page each. Either
No,
way.
oh, each of yeah, no, each of them had at least 3 pages, and I was like, "This is something's wrong. Something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong." When I looked, and then when I looked at the back of the book, it was a book written by a British company, a British publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
Then it hit my mind. Then I looked at almost all of the books that we were using in high school. Let me tell you something. Just because we're in Africa, it doesn't mean that our books are written by Kenyan or African authors. Yeah, there's some books that are in school, in high school and in elementary, that are written by Africans.
Mm-hmm.
But the main ones, they're written by Europeans.
Yeah.
And in that book, you find that they were writing all about who invented what. Oh, Isaac Newton and Aristotle, and as in that book spent almost 50% of that book talking about the world wars that we didn't even cause. But in the same book, Marcus Garvey is summarized in 3 pages. I just felt something was wrong about that, and
Yeah.
that basically that was the beginning. That was the beginning of me really trying to figure out why is it this way. And when I learned more about Garvey, when I learned more about Pan Africans, I was so fascinated, and I just kept on fiending for more and more and more and more.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you talk about the school books, it was of course I grew up in the States, so it was a little different. However, not too different, because when we learned about as being African American or Black American, whatever you call it, Afro American, like when we learn about our heritage, it starts with slavery in our books out here. Literally, the very first time it's like Once upon a time, God created Earth, and then there was these black people. They were on the boat, and then they ended up in America. That's pretty much almost how the book starts. And it's like we don't know anything about where we came. They don't talk about anything about the ports in which we came from. They don't talk about the countries in which we came from. They don't talk about the almost the millennia of time before any of this ever happened. The only thing that we actually are able to identify with in books are pretty much the last 400, 500 years. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, even I went to the African American Arts Museum out there in DC, the newest one, and no shade to them at this, but even when going to that museum and started from the bottom, you literally start from the very bottom of the museum and you work your way up. And it starts there too. It starts as slavery. It starts at that point, and it's kind of like it's kind of it fucks with me. It fucks with my mind, as I get older and I start to learn more about everything. I was just having a conversation with my P the other day. I was just like, I got to figure out where exactly that I've come from. I used to have this African this tiki kind of like a pendant that I used to wear. This wooden pendant that I used to wear, and I stopped wearing it because after a while, like I was like, I don't even know where I'm from on this continent. I can't point to it. If you would see me walking down the street, you were just like, "Oh, you're African. Where are you from?" I'll be like, I, I think I might be East. You know what I'm saying? But that right there made me feel a different type of low as a human being, could not to know where I'm from. So I guess, kind of formulating this into a question, what kind of advice do you have to people that might be in my position that are, we don't know if we're from Kenya, from Ghana, or from Sierra Leone, or from we don't know where we're from. You know what I'm saying? But however, we still have that tie.
All right, okay. That's a very, very, very good question. The advantage African Americans have is that, fine, you can do ancestry.com, whatever. But here's the thing, even though you don't want to do it, you are so privileged. Why? Because you don't need to know exactly where you come from. You can literally choose. Like, look, you have 54 countries to choose from. You have 5 regions to choose from. If you want to follow the Eastern African culture, use it. If you want to follow the Southern African, Central African, Western African, Northern African, use it. You have varieties. You see, and that makes you so. It puts you in a very advantageous position, because you're like, I can listen. I can go either way. And you see, just because you don't know the exact point of where your ancestors came from, it doesn't mean that you don't have to connect with the motherland. You literally have, if you wanna follow the Eastern African culture, if you want to follow the Kenyan culture, study Kenya, come to Kenya, and if you like it, well, that's good. If you want to go to Nigeria or Ghana or Senegal and you want to do what they do, you do that. If you want to go to South Africa or Botswana or Lesotho or Eswatini, and you want to, you have a variety. So to the Africans in the diaspora who are kind of lost on which culture to choose from, you have a variety. African culture is African culture, and we are all one. And if you look at African culture, we are the same. We're almost the same. If you look at traditional African culture, if you look at tribes scattered around Africa, we are kind of the same. Yeah. Okay. If you look at the religion aspect, we communicate with our ancestors. Same with the Western African tribes. Same with Southern African tribes. We offer animal sacrifices when we are communicating with the ancestors. Same. Same. Even if you look at at the political aspect. In fact, when it comes to the political aspect, the idea of legislation and the idea of parliament, it came from African culture. We had parliament. We had what you guys call Congress. We had it in Africa. In fact, if you look at the Buganda Kingdom of Uganda, they had their own parliament, and it's still there till this day. And if you look at the structure, it looks like the structure in Congress. It looks like the parliament in the UK. So African culture is the blueprint of all cultures in the world.
So
Yeah.
and to your point about having so many different mixed cultures to choose from, and I think that that might be a lot of the hang up. And I'm now just I'll speak for myself, but maybe somebody else could would attest to this maybe in the comments, but that's kind of the holdback when it comes to us, you know, being not actually being from, or not, you know, having no, well, I'm trying to say this correctly. This is the issue with us not born in Africa, is that we don't realize how vast it actually is. Even when you look at a map, like I told myself that I will no longer represent any map in my home, in my office, anywhere, or I won't even share a map that does not depict Africa as big as it actually is. Because once I actually realized how big it was, I was just like, oh, so y'all telling me that on this map y'all gonna make Africa look like the same size as the United States, and you could fit almost 2 United States inside of Africa? I mean, I'm sorry, North Americas. So it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to say, Africa is almost 3 times the size of US. 3 times.
That's wild. And literally on the map, they make it seem like they're like they're just ghetto twins. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And you know, and I think that that's one of the things that when it comes to us as African Americans, when you think about that and you think about the country of Sudan is like almost 5 Texases. You know what I'm saying? Like when you put it in that kind of mindset and you don't even think about how vast that is, and where like, and how much culture can be embedded in that, because we only can see through the constraints of what's being given to us until we actually decide to deep dive and look more into it. And you know, kind of going back full circle back to your video, there were so many names that you mentioned in your video outside of Marcus Garvey, outside of Malcolm X, outside of Dr. Martin Luther King, outside of um, 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 the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, outside of you know, there's so many people that you named outside of those that I was like, I was driving when I was listening to it, but I wish I had my phone so I could actually start Googling, because I was like, damn, like I need to really kind of dive into these people. And what I also realized about when you were talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you humanized him in a way that I haven't heard before. For when you called him Elijah Potts
Pool.
Pool.
Pool. Yeah.
I would have never thought to even think of his name before he would have changed it, you know what I'm saying, before that thing. And I also did not know that he was aligned with Garveyism as well. So I kind of want you to tap into that. Maybe not even, it doesn't have to be specifically about, you know what I'm saying, Elijah Muhammad, but any of those influential figures that were kind of aligned with Garveyism that we don't really know about.
That's very true. You look at the structures of black freedom struggle movements after 1920. You can't tell me that they weren't inspired by Garvey. You look at the Nation of Islam. Uh, it, the only difference is that the Nation of Islam is in an Islamic is following an Islamic structure. But if you look at their black nationalism, and if you look at their views and their thoughts on racism, it's the same as Garvey.
So,
Dr. King is the same as Garvey. Yeah.
Not to cut you off, just kind of insert a little bit. What would you consider Garvey? Would if Garveyism had any type of relation to a religion at all, which one would you align it with?
You mean the religion Garvey belonged in?
Yeah.
Garvey was a Christian.
He was a Christian.
Garvey was a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, Garvey was a Christian. Yeah, Garvey was a Christian, but he was a black nationalist Christian, you know. And the thing I like about Garvey is that he didn't impose his religion on other people. Whether
Hmm.
you're an whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, it or any other religion, it didn't matter as long as you're an African and as long as you believe in African unity, you
Hmm.
belong to the United Negro Improvement Association, which
For
is
sure.
the largest group, black struggle group in the history of black
Six
struggle
million.
movement.
You said 6 million people around the world.
6 million plus,
6 million.
plus.
For
Yeah.
sure. That's wild. And and even seeing the when you were talking about the Negro world, the paper that he had, and it's just like I said, it was so many things I did not know. And it really was just like, it gave me it always gives me a sense of pride for real. You know what I'm saying? When I talk to you, even when I hear you talk about this stuff, because you shed so much light onto things that, what I'm saying, I feel like I said, I know I didn't know. So I know there's a lot of people out there that didn't know. And so we talked a lot about Marcus Garvey, but maybe just a sneak peek of like maybe like who are some other people that you are going to be introducing to the Does It Make Sense platform, in a sense of like, well, yeah. Who else you gonna be introduced?
That's a very good question. Now, the first episode, I had to do it for Marcus Garvey because I love Garvey and because he's literally, like I said in the video, he's the essence of my life. But the show is not based on black struggle personalities in each and every episode. What I'm doing in this show is that I'm looking at African issues, black issues all over the world, and I'm really asking a question of does it make sense that these issues are still lingering till this day, and
Mhm.
alongside other questions, like for example, episode 2 we'll be talking about. It's just an interesting episode on how on the power of number 9. When I was doing my research, I realized that, and actually the number 9 in
Nine
African
is
culture means,
nine is
yeah.
crazy. I just watched the video on the power on the number nine, and it's actually. So I'm gonna share this with you if you haven't already seen it. But it was a guy, he was actually rapping the KRS-One,
Oh yeah,
and yeah,
I've seen that.
the number nine, man. It's deep. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's true. But mine goes deeper. I'm not looking at just the number 9 generally. I'm looking at how it aligns in African history and in Black history. So that will be
Mm,
an so that'll be very interesting because the things I'll be uncovering there is it's mind blowing. And then other episodes include match fixing here in Africa. Other episodes, there's the reparations episode. There is I'm just going through top essential topics, and I'm explaining them the way I would explain them in my version. There's a match fixing reparations. The they're just a plethora of. There's the BRICS episode that everybody's talking about. You know, China and Russia making a currency. Oh,
yeah,
no, not making a currency. Strengthening the Chinese
away from
yuan.
the dollar. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me just say one thing about that. I'm not that excited about that. You know why?
Well, what's up?
The thing is that many African leaders are so, including South Africa, even here in Kenya, I can see the where the politics is shifting. Africa now is kind of excited that the dollar is being overthrown, and I understand the excitement because the West has. I don't even need to explain how Europe and America have been screwing us over for the last 400 years. I don't need to explain that. But why are you moving from one slave master to another?
Oh man.
Why? 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 As in, I'm so pissed off at them going from from the west to the east instead of us sitting down and
So
figuring out how we can form our own currency as Africa.
you said
I
that.
don't
You know,
understand that.
you said that on the last time you were on the show, and this was before all of this stuff was here, and that's how you know that you. This is why I called you iconic, because you literally said this in the last episode, well before all of this was in the news, and you were just like, all Africa has to do is come together and make a currency together. Y'all can have y'all's borderlines. Every country can still say its country, and territory can be its territory. But if we can come to and everybody can still have their own version of a currency, but if we can come with one united continent currency that we can exchange amongst ourselves, we would be great. We'd be fine. You literally said that, and it's crazy, and it's like, and when it comes to, it's like I have a lot of mixed feelings, but certain things are very straight up for me. It's like, I'm an American, right? So as much as I have issues with America, I still love my country, and I hope that we do well. I don't ever want to shit on anybody else to do well either. I don't want to have to, take away from other people to do well either. So when it comes to my country, I just wish that we can do well and help others do well. But when I do hear about the things that are happening in other countries, or in other continents, or even, whether it be Africa, or whether it be South America, whether it be, places in Asia and the Middle East and stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily give you the warm and fuzzies, but it's like we all have a right to be we all have a right the right to have the pride of the places that we're from and the places that we're at. So it's like, it doesn't surprise me at all that Africans would be happy to think that like they will be getting away from something that has been screwing them over for so long. However, like you said, how are you actually getting away from it? Are you actually getting away from anything? Are you just kind of, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or like you said, changing slave masters? And it's really interesting. I mean, it's really interesting. I think a lot of people here in the States, we're not as aware of what's going on in Africa. I listened to a podcast, which, thank God for this podcast, but I didn't know, but it told me about I can't I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I'm pretty sure it's the Ugandan president.
Museveni.
Yes. And it was talking about, how he was there, and how you had a Bobby Wine that was, going, no, not Bobby Wine, but what's his actual name? I can't think of his actual name. Bobby Wine is his performer
Well,
name, correct?
yeah.
But yeah, he was running against, but it was really interesting to me, because I didn't know all that was going on. I had no idea that he was raining so much terror, and then all that was, and all, and I still don't fully know what's going on, because we only get what the media gives us. It's really interesting. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah. It's true. We have bad leadership in Africa. That's obvious. We
Our
have
leadership isn't that good here either.
yeah. Well, I can see what like Biden came in and he has forgotten you people like crazy.
Oh, he
Uh,
completely forgot, man. He completely forgot. I agree with
yo,
that.
let me yeah yeah, but let me just say this. It's sad. He came into office, and the first thing he did is to sign legislation for other groups apart from black people who voted for him, including black women who turned out. Let me tell you something. There's a game. It's a game. Politics is a game. It's just like here in Africa. Who do you think is controlling the president? You think these guys are being elected by us? You are dead wrong. Most countries here in Africa, the presidents are being elected by foreign powers. Whoever is controlling might be Asia, the East, or the West, Europe, and America.
Yeah.
It's the Cold War all over again. It's the Cold War all over again, and and all we do is if you look at what we are talking about, we're just talking about who slept with who did this. As in, our focus is so skewed.
Yeah.
Like we are focusing on people beefing over car shows, people beefing on stupid things, and if you look at the African race, we are literally on the edge of extinction. We like, and I was talking to my friend, and I was telling him, look, if we continue with this downward spiral, uh, colonization part two is coming. Colonization part two is coming to Africa. And if you thought colonization part one was bad, part two, hmm, slavery part two is coming. If we think slavery part one was bad, slavery part two is coming. Because if we don't change our focus level, if we don't change our seriousness level, karma is going to come. And
Yeah.
deja vu is going to hit us in a very, very hard way, and we need to be focused. Let me tell you something. When I was doing research on the episode of religion, which I'm going to release on my platform, I realized that Kenya, alongside other five African countries, Kenya alongside other five African countries, and also Lebanon, which is not an African country, but Lebanon and five African countries, when it comes to Christmas Day, they use 100% more of their salary on Christmas, which means if I earn let's say 30,000 Kenya shillings, I will use 60,000 Kenya shillings on Christmas Day. So where do I get the 30,000 more? I have to borrow. I have to borrow loans. I have to borrow from my friends. I have to use money that I don't have to finance a holiday that celebrates white Jesus, for heaven's sake. What is wrong with us? Something's wrong.
It's I feel you on that. I feel you on that in a lot of different ways. I told myself that I was gonna stop, really participating heavy in Christmas and other shit like that, because the holidays already they always kind of gave me a weird feeling, and I never really knew why. Probably because I just didn't feel natural about them. But when it came to Christmas and shit, when I look at how much money Black people spend on Christmas, like the billions and billions and billions of dollars that gets pushed out, excuse me, that could be going to other things. It blows my mind. And I told myself, I was like, I can't do it to that, I can't do it to that extent. Like I cannot find myself, I remember there will be times that I would need something and I wouldn't get it because Christmas was coming. I would have to wait until Christmas to get it. Didn't make any sense. So but it was just because of the construct of the holiday and all the bullshit behind it. So anyways, it just blew my mind. But man, it's I think that because man, we can keep going about this forever because there's this it just keeps getting deep. But what I will ask is that bringing it full circle, if you had to sell anybody on here, or not sell anybody on here, I would say if you had to convince anybody to click on one of your videos just one time, if you had to, like, what I'm saying, like if this was your statement to be like, this is why you should click on one of my videos just one time and listen to it, what would that be?
I'm real. That's it. I'm I'm I am real. I give it to you straight, no chaser. I give it to you raw and uncut. And well, I'm just real, and I love African people, and I love African people globally, and I wish that we could stop calling, because also here in Africa, I've met a couple of people who don't accept our distant relatives in the diaspora, and same as the diaspora not accepting themselves as being Africans. So it's not that the hatred is on one side, the hatred is on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to bridge that gap in my own capacity. I'm trying to bridge that gap because we need to connect. We need to connect because let me tell you. So without going deeper, my channel is just highlighting African issues and Black issues all over the world, and I'm trying to help us connect. And this is a show for by Black people, nothing more, nothing less.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that, man, for sure, man. Let them know where they can follow your show and where they can follow you.
Uh, on Instagram, real Sensical Sense. On Twitter, at Sensical Sense. On Instagram, at Sensical Sense. And my YouTube channel is Sensical Sense. And when you click that YouTube channel, you'll find a show called Does It Make Sense, which is my new episodic weekly educational comprehensive YouTube show talking about African people. Like the episode on match fixing, that's my favorite because here in here in Africa we love soccer. What you people call soccer, we call it football because you
Football.
kick it with the you use your foot to kick the ball. That's why it's called football.
Every time you say that shit, I drink.
I don't know why. Okay, so football here in Africa, just like sports all over, is fixed. Okay, and it's not only in Africa. Even in England, there was a match fixing allegation just the other week. Match
Mm,
fixing is everywhere, but the
yeah,
reason why people do match fixing here in Africa is because they are not paid. And if you look at the match fixing cases, it's because these players are not paid by the African leagues. But if
yeah,
you look at but people always look at the African players and they always condemn them. Oh, why are you fixing matches? Yeah, but you're like, no one is talking about the orchestrators. No one is talking about who the criminal rings in this. And when I did my research, I realized that the criminal rings in match fixing in Africa is Singaporeans, is Bulgarians, is Asians and East Europeans.
mm,
They come and they smell blood in water, and so if I'm a captain in my team, they come to me and they tell me, look, uh, I know you earn less than this amount. Let me give you 10 times this amount and make sure that your team doesn't score more than 2 goals. And then they go to the crime ring goes to the betting apps, and they bet on what they have agreed with the team, and that's how it is. So match
wow.
fixing is match fixing is bad. In fact, here in Kenya. I'm telling you, it's bad. It's really bad. Kenyan football is full of match fixing.
I'm
Okay.
excited for your
Mm.
episode about that, man. Because I mean, if you're not already doing an episode about that, I definitely like hope to see it, man. Because it's gonna be super crazy. And as y'all can hear, homie does his research. He really does deep dive into this stuff. He knows what he's talking about. He said he's real. He's gonna give it to you raw and uncut. And I'm here to really attest to that. He really is that. He really is gonna give you that energy. He's gonna give you a lot of education along with the process. But I want to thank all of y'all for tapping in with the show. I want to thank all y'all for coming back. For this is his third time on the show, but this is part 2 of Words to the Diaspora with my homie Sensical Sense out there in Kenya, Africa. Once again, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you, brother. And we're gonna talk more soon, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Country Fan Mail Podcast, Clue the Down, where a fan makes a fan. We out.